wife, mother, attorney, businesswoman, creator, writer, artist, author, survivor, and today, a wellness coach. It is my pleasure and joy to introduce to you a sister of faith and my newfound friend, Jennifer Dickenson. Please join me in welcoming her.
Here today and share this story with you, and hopefully that you will walk away with some information for yourself and some thoughts that maybe you hadn't thought before today. I want to tell you that there are 2 points I want to just raise before we start talking. One is that because I did have brain cancer, grade 4, at the left temporal lobe, I do have some memory issues. And sometimes I can't pull a word, I can't get the word, I just can't get it. So if that happens, and I never know when it's going to happen, so it's really exciting. So if that does happen, just know I'm not zoning out, I just can't get it. And you'll learn more as we talk about it. That's part and parcel of what happened with me. The second thing I want to say is, although this story is a very inspirational one, I want to honor all of the people, the brave souls that came before me who are not here anymore, because they fought hard too. They're just in heaven now. And so I want to honor those people and glorify them and honor them. So my story. In 2011, I was a busy lawyer. I was a co-owner of a law firm that was the largest female-owned firm in the Southeast. And I think we had 12 offices all over Georgia. It was a big layout. We had 100 lawyers and staff. And I was the managing partner of the transactional department, which was the biggest group. We had 92 of those people were on my department. During the financial crisis, 2007, 2008, as some of you may remember, that was a very difficult time. And it's a very stressful time, and it impacted our business a lot. So every day I was spending my time figuring out having to let people go or making changes so that we could keep going and keep doing what we needed to. It was brutal. I'm really bad at firing people, I've learned through this process. I'm really, really bad at it. But it was a very, very stressful time frame. So ultimately, I started to have memory issues. I would have trouble with bright lights, or very sensitive to me. And I started to have problems remembering some of my clients' name. And I had some famous clients. And I'd be like, what's that guy again? What sport does he do? It was really weird. But I just figured, I guess I'm all stressed out. Also, I started to have trouble reading quickly. It really started to slow me down, and I would give one of the lawyers, I'd say, read this. And they'd read it to me, I'd be like, okay, it's just like that client that we had 10 years ago. I could remember those things, but things were happening, right? So I'm humming along thinking, well, maybe it's my glasses. Maybe I need to get those glasses. I was 44 at that time, but not really understanding, not getting to the bottom, never thinking in the world that I was not healthy and that something was very serious happening to me. But then I went to a speaking event. I did a lot of public speaking during my time as a lawyer, as a partner. So I was going to this one, and the night before, it was a Friday morning, 9 a.m., which is a big, it's a big speech. And the night before, I was looking at my notes, and my notes, it's like they were evaporating from me. And I had spoken about this many, many times. I've spoken to lots of different groups, but I just couldn't get it. So I started making margins on the side of my notes to somehow make it better so I could perform the next day. But that didn't work either. So I went, finally put this down. I go to sleep and I'm thinking, I don't know how this is gonna go tomorrow. I get in there at 9 o'clock and I'm fudging with my notes, I'm fudging with my phone for about a minute. And that's a really long time not to do anything. And just, I was making jokes. I'm like, oh, just give me a second, haha. But it was a standing room only group. I mean, there were people sitting packed, there were people standing in the back. I mean, it was a big deal. And I'm stumbling, and so I take my stupid notes and I just shove it down there, and I just do it by memory, so I do the whole thing by memory, and I was able to do that, right? And then I thought towards an hour I did that. But I thought to myself, God, please nobody ask questions. Please don't ask any questions. But yes, you've always got that one right at the front. Hi, I've got a question. And that's what happened. And it was really like, I was like, wah, 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 wah. I had no idea. Cognitively, I couldn't understand what she was saying. And I knew it was really bad. So I drive home for 6 hours because this event was in Florida, and I got an MRI. It took me about a day to get another MRI. So I go to the MRI place, and they take too much time, right? You were supposed to get in, get out, and they go and they test something else. Somebody knows about that. You go back in there, I'm like, oh, this isn't going to be good, but who would ever imagine that this was going to be glioblastoma of grade 4, but yet it was. The percentage of living, what I was diagnosed with, 12 to 18 months is what you would have to live. That was 95% of chance, that was your chance. And that's with brain surgery, radiation, and chemo. So it's a really, really tough one. 5%, the 5% that didn't pass in the 12 to 18 months, they would live up to 5 years. Now I'm 12 years clear, so I'm less than 1%, 1.7% here. I really appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. A lot of things I learned in that time frame that I want to share with you, that I have been blessed by God that I am here to say this story, to give this story. I've got some bumps and bruises, as we've talked about, but my message is so clear, it's clear as a bell, and that's what I want to share with you. When I went to the hospital, I was met with my neighbor, my next door neighbor, in fact. One was a brain surgeon, and his wife was a nurse who had worked with brain surgeon, right? Like, wow, thanks God. They had just moved in about a year before, and we became friends and all of this stuff. So when my husband was driving to the MRI place to get me to the hospital, he called them and said, hey, and then he's there with his, what is it, the green stuff that the doctors are wearing. So they're all there. His scrubs, right? Thanks. I appreciate that. See, it's fun, right? So his wife, though, was with me, and we're hugging. And she is not sugarcoating this situation. She says, this is bad. This is really, really bad. And so I prayed, and I didn't really understand the connection with God at that point, okay? I hadn't grown up with traditional church or anything like that, so I was sort of like natural. But I prayed, and I have prayed before, but this time I prayed to God, and I said, God, please let me live. Please let me make the changes that I need to change to prioritize my family more than all those hours at my office, which is what I was doing. I was working all the time trying to fix this impossible situation with the financial crisis. And I prayed for that, and something really miraculous happened at that moment. At that moment, there was an immediate rearrangement of my entire life. I can't express it more clearly. I was shocked by what I was seeing. By just asking God and saying, please, all of a sudden this reorganization came in, and what it showed me was God is first. God right up there. And then next, me. and then my family, and I put my dear friends in that, right? But really what's even more amazing at this moment is I looked down and there was nothing else. In other words, my accolades as a lawyer, or all of my public speaking events, or all the things that people knew me in that industry, it meant nothing. Nothing. It was a mirage, right? I was living my life, oh, I've got to do all these things. What really mattered to me was a higher realm that I could connect to. Myself, understanding myself, and being with my family. But I wasn't doing those things. I was mismanaging my life. Situation, a clarity came to me, and I really started to understand there's a lot for me to learn. Yes, I was scared to death. It was a nightmare, right? And I didn't get a guarantee, oh, you're gonna live, don't worry about it. No, I didn't get that. No. It took me a lot of time to get that. But I did start to see that there might be a path for me. And I started to say this question to myself. I have a lot of reasons to fight this. I've got these two beautiful girls. I had a first grader and a third grader. My other daughter is here, right here. She's 22. Thank God. So grateful for this. But I had a lot of reasons to fight and beat this. And I started thinking two questions. One, if there's one person out there who's beaten this, why can't I? Why not? Why not me? Right? Why not me? I know this is bad. I know this is terrible. The second thing is, we heal. We heal all the time. We have cuts and bruises. We have bones that break, and all the doctor does is set it and then says, okay, stay off of it for 3 months, right? Well, that's because your body does heal. I don't have to be a doctor to show you. We're women. You know how you've done that for other kids. Oh, I'll just put a little this on it and you'll be good to go. So I started, those two concepts started taking me into a brand new way of thinking about what could happen with my particular situation. Through this process, I discovered the mind, the body, and the spirit. They're critical. It's the answer. It's the path. And I can't even tell you this is absolutely true. Unfortunately, sometimes it's just about the surgeries and the medicines. But if your mind isn't okay, if you haven't resolved certain things that are still looming around you, it's going to create a very difficult time for you to heal the situation that you're in. So, and then obviously having a spiritual aspect is enormous and probably the most important. That was good for me, I did. Anything that was bad for me, including toxic people, that counts. I would step away from those things. I was in healing mode. And that's what started to bring me to the truth about healing. And I'm very passionate about it. I coach people sort of on the cuff, but people don't know this information. And my whole purpose here is to share this information with as many people so that they can use this for themselves. The first thing that I found in this process was very organic. One thing would lead to another. Or I'd be at Whole Foods and this guy'd say, well, did you know about acidic and alkaline? Oh, what is that? What is that? Everything, it was almost like God was pushing me. Oh, here's somebody else, here's something else, here's something else. But I could have said, I'm just scared. I don't want to look at anything else. I'm just going to listen to what the doctor is saying. And I have no problem with the doctor. I love my doctors. All of my doctors, phenomenal. But I see it like a pie chart, right? There's a pie chart. And I see the traditional medicine as a piece of the pie chart, right? I see body, the mindfulness, and the spirit. That's what fills the whole piece. And unfortunately, so many of us only have the sliver, but we think it's the whole thing. And that's what I learned in my process. And like I said, I love my doctor, my oncologist, but one time I asked him, you know, I found a holistic doctor behind the scenes, because I'm like, this is not going to give me everything what I need with my oncologist. So she started giving me some good pieces of information. But one time I said to my oncologist, what do you think I should be doing as far as food and eating and stuff like that? But I was sort of being snide in my mind because I already knew, but I just wanted to see what he would say. and it was as bad as I thought, because what he said is he just looked at me and he was like, well, you look good, so just keep doing what you're doing. And I'm like, you're kidding me, right? So unfortunately, that's the situation that I came into. But I started to learn about the body and how your body helps us. And it supports our organs, our tissues, our cells. It's how we create oxygenation. That's why exercise is so important. You're moving in and you're moving out. All these great things happen. One of the most important things that happens is your immune system, your special ops team that you're a co-partner of, will start fighting stuff. Cancer cells floating in your body, bacteria floating around. But when you don't support your immune system, it can't do that much. It's running around doing different things. You're eating ho-hos or whatever, poor food, and it's got to deal with that stuff instead of fighting like a cancer cell, like I'm saying. So it's about, for me, it's about the immune system, supporting our immune system, and also calming our nervous system. That was a big problem for me. I was very stressed out for a very long time, obviously in my work situation. I learned that stress is associated with the top 6 killers in the United States. Cancer, heart disease, kidney, liver, lungs, car accidents, and suicide. I look at it as a tree, and the bottom of the tree is the body. And then the middle part of the tree, a beautiful tree, is going to be the mindfulness. And then at the very top, with the beautiful leaves at the top, that's how I see God. That's where I see the spiritual discoveries of there. So, I like to think about mindfulness as creating space in your mind. Right? We're talking about a pause and just quieting our minds. Just giving space there, not filling it with anything. We have so many to-do lists. We have so many things that we're responsible to take care of. We think about our kids or our husbands or whatever it is. I know we all have the list. I know we all do, right? I know you do. We all have these lists, but sometimes it's really important to put that aside and take care of yourself and give yourself a moment to get really quiet and get really silent and see where you are and pay attention to what you need just for you. Some of the other mindfulness tools that I learned about, really exciting, is about joy, spending joy. I'm going to make it your job. I just made it your job. Hi, it's your job now. Your job is every day find 30 minutes to do something that is purely joyful. You don't have to go on a big trip. You don't have to do anything. The trees are so beautiful right now. You could just sit down by yourself, might have a dog or cat or whatever, and literally just sit there for 30 minutes and smell and look at the trees and just be in wonder. The studies that they have done, everything in my book has been studied. So they've done so many studies that show how our immune system increases, hormones come out of us when we're very calm and relaxed, our oxygenation is great, our cells are supported. It's so simple, but we don't give ourselves much time. Or I always like to say, it's like the end of a bread, the bread has the butt, the bad piece. Well, that's what we give ourselves, right? We take care of everybody during the day, and then by 10 o'clock we say, okay, well, I say no. I say no to that. I say 12 o'clock would be a good time. 3 o'clock would be a good time. I think that it's an important thing to take that time for yourself. So meditation also I discovered through this path. Directed meditation is even my most favorite because it's so easy. It's called the lazy man's meditation. Lazy man meditation is all you do is you listen to somebody else who's talking in a very calm way with music behind it, but it's very supportive. This one company that I used a lot, that I mentioned in my book, they, again, have done studies on all of that. People get out of the hospital the day before by doing these kind of directed meditation. But what it does is it restructures your brain as you feel completely well, absolutely well. I started using that practice as well as the Qigong that I was explaining to you, and I would have tears of joy coming out of my face. That doesn't make sense. I was fighting brain cancer, one of the worst cancers around. But you can change and you can shift yourself into these other areas that are very supportive of your body. And guess what? I don't think disease starts in the body. I don't think it starts in the body at all. I believe it starts in your mind and your thoughts, right? There's not a stress gene I've ever heard of. There's not a stress gene. My brain was filled with stress, and I was trying to be perfect, and I was trying to fix everything, and I wasn't giving myself enough space and being kind to myself, giving myself a break. And I think a lot of us could probably use a little bit more of that. I also learned about music, and music also techniques calm us down. Now this one is really so easy and so joyful. If you take some of the music that you used to love when you were in high school and just listen to that music, they have shown studies, again, same thing, supporting your immune system, opening your breathing techniques, your joyousness comes out again. You could do that in your 30 minutes that you're going to be doing every day for yourself. You could do that just listening to that music. And the funny thing is you can start singing, you can start moving. It's just inspiring. It's great. I saw a video of a man who had Parkinson's disease, and they put in the earpieces so that he could listen to the music from his time, which I think was like in the 50s. And he was sort of slumping and he was kind of like shaking. All of a sudden the music comes in and he's like dancing gorgeously, like men from the 50s knew how to do that. Like my dad's a great dancer. I'm like, oh, okay, I love my husband, but we don't dance like that. We don't dance like that. But that's how amazing that music is a technique now that can help people who are having many kinds of issues. So prayer, obviously, is a wonderful thing, also an important thing that really can connect you to this other realm. I know you all know about that. That's why you're here. Visualization is my last. There's so many more items, but just for the purposes of this, visualization is actually very, very, very important. Can you see a positive? Can you see a positive? I was dealing with brain cancer. I had my two beautiful little girls, and I'm getting surgery on my brain. For 7.5 hours, they did that. But yet, some of these tools were helping me visualize a different scenario. I visualized butterflies getting the cancer out of my brain. I visualized this. And my butterflies were not plain butterflies, they were awesome butterflies. They were like really strong. And I would really visualize it. And then I would hear almost like their wings, and they were taking it from my brain, in my mind, and then they were dropping it off to the darkest area of the world, where nothing else could come back. That's how it was in my mind. That's how I thought about it. And then you think, oh, that's kind of kooky. That's really crazy. But I started doing this meditation or this visualization for myself before the surgery. I got a card the day after I started doing this visualization for myself. And on the card, it was exactly what I was doing. It was a girl just like me, and there was butterflies, and they were going off, like to the ends of the world, right? God was all over this, and I cried again, because I'm like, God, I don't understand why I'm in this situation. This is the worst situation in the world, but God, blessings are coming everywhere in this difficult, very difficult time. But I'm going to prove to you why visualization actually works. I'm going to tell you why. Do you ever have a nightmare, and all of a sudden, you're just, it's awful, whatever the story, you have no clothes and you're at school, or whatever, like the dreams that we have for ourselves. And then, all of a sudden, you wake up, and your hands are clenched, and you're sweating, and you're disoriented, you're trying, is this really happening? And all of a sudden, oh God, no, it wasn't. The reason that we've all had this experience, your body is paying attention to your brain. Your brain. That's how powerful what you're filling in your brain with, because your body reacted. There's no other way your physical body would have done that. You're sleeping, but this happens. So visualization is another part in the mindfulness aspect of it. And then we're going to talk about, but I think, are we? Yes, okay. So we're going to take a moment, and we're going to let you guys talk about, bugging you, am I okay? Okay, so mind, body, and spirit, in my book, this is the book I wished I had when I got sick. That's why I wrote this. This took me 9 years to write this. I know it doesn't seem like a big tome, but all the guts is in here. Anybody could look at it. If you don't feel well, if you do feel good, it's an easy book to read. And it's my passion. It was kind of like, for those who have been giving much is required, whatever that phrase is, I feel that is. And I said to God one time, I'm like, why am I trying to write this book? It takes me so long to read anything, and it's hard for me to do this now. And the message he said was, this is for the community. I said, who am I giving this to? He goes, your community. And if any of you pray to God on a regular basis, they're not really specific about, like, well, what does that mean? Does that mean, like, Alpharetta? Does that mean Georgia? Does it mean the world? And they were always silent. They just go away at that point. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll figure that out. And so that's what I do. And I try to share this information with as many people as possible. I think that this awareness was unbelievable, and this is one of the things that I want to share with other people. We spend so much time doing, and not enough being. If somebody had told me that before I got so sick and was so stressed out and all the crazy stuff, if I knew, Jennifer, this is on your do list. You have to take care of yourself every single day. I know you've got kids, and it's not going to be the butt of the bread either. It's going to be a good piece. It's going to be a good piece. I think I would have started making some changes and started shifting some of my pressures in my life. But there is another way for this, as we're talking about our minds, our lives, our phones, stepping those away. We take a pause, we center ourselves, we breathe deeply in and out with gratitude. This moment, feeling it and alive and being alive in it. Instead of feeling resentment and loaded up with your life, you can feel refreshed. Now, like with this new perspective, I see things that I didn't see before. I'm like, where do you do something for yourself, deeply in yourself? Because when they go to college, you look at yourselves around like, well, now what? I haven't done anything to nurture myself. And I think it's so important. When we give ourselves this time, we support ourselves and the people around us. This light can be so powerful. We can even touch the world with it. You have the ability, the power to touch the world with your light. And I think this world would be a better place with more of this in it. Thank you.